PCW, and I will serve as the moderator for this session. So may I now call on the five panelists who will join me in this stage. Starting with, is she here already? Yusek Emeline Villar. Yusek M, are you here now? Asan si Yusek M? Ayan. Please join me, Yusek M. Diyan po tayo. The second panelist or speaker is Commissioner Faida Dumarpa of the Commission on Human Rights. Comfey, are you here? Ha? Wala pa. Sige. Mamaya hahabol siya. The third speaker would be Assistant Secretary Susan Marcaida. Susan, from the Office of the Presidential Advisor for Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity, or OPAPRU. Sige po, ma'am. Next, our princess. The youth representative from Plan International, Princess Estives. Princess, please join us.
Good to see you again.
Ayan. And the fifth one, although she was not part of the Philippine delegation, but she led the conduct of a side event here in the Philippines, no? And it was a hybrid CSW69 side event. And this is the second time na Miss Asek Dayan, no? For the DOST. So let's welcome Assistant Secretary Dayan Ignacio. She will also share her experience and insights putting up a side event here in the Philippines na balita ko very well attended, no? Maraming mga taga-ibang bansa na nag-attend sa ating side event. Doon na lang, Asek Dayan. Okay, so for this panel, we will have a 1-hour session and you will be given 7 minutes each. Pero wala pong patayan ng mic. Katulad ng CSW. Katulad ng CSW interventions natin. So 7 minutes each, maximum na po yun. And you will try to share your experience, your insights, your commitments on how to push forward parang fast-tracking the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action. So, pwede kayong mamili doon sa binigay sa inyong guide questions. Una, you could start with what were the sessions, at least sila ma'am, what were the sessions that you attended during the CSW69 and what were the outcomes of this session? So anything you want to share doon sa session na inattend nyo. And then what are your insights, no? And your commitment, if not your own, your agency's commitment to implement the Beijing Platform for Action. It could be something that you plan to start, you continue to or enforce if you have started it already in your agencies, and anything that you want to immediately take action on based doon sa ating mga natutunan when we attended the CSW69. So, with that, I think we are ready to start. Let me start with Yusek M. The floor is yours, Yusek M.
Thank you, Ma'am Annette. Good afternoon, everyone. I had the privilege of participating in and presenting interventions on behalf of the Philippine government during the 2 interactive dialogues, namely poverty eradication, social protection, and also the dialogue on freedom from violence, stigma, and stereotypes. So those were the 2 sessions that I attended. And we are all aware that this year's session commemorates the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which continues to be the most advanced framework for gender equality since its adoption in 1995. The review of the Beijing Protocol and reflections on the process achieved thus far has been a key theme in both the discussions that I participated in. The first session, like I mentioned earlier, was on poverty eradication, social protection, and social services. And during this dialogue, we centered on poverty eradication, social protection, and social services based on the projections of UN Women for 2024. And in their projections, nearly 10% of women and girls live in households in extreme poverty, compared to just over 9% of men and boys, which translates to 22 million more poorer women than men globally. Notably, women carry the disproportionate burden of unpaid care work, which is often at least one of the root causes of women's poverty and gender inequality. Given this, clear threads of consensus emerged from the discussions, particularly regarding the significant role of gender-responsive social protection and social services, and the importance of determining the actions necessary to promote inclusive coverage, gender-responsive design, and rights-based implementation. Let me mention some of the best practices which were shared during the dialogue on poverty eradication. In Brazil, for example, there was a lot of emphasis on making rural women part of the union so that they could assess social pensions and for them to organize for their land rights. Accordingly, if one has the assurance that his or her livelihood will not be undermined, one's ability to demand greater recognition of his or her identity as a citizen also increases. In Kenya, as in other states, one of the strategies employed is to direct the government's attention to sectors of growth that are mostly women-facing, particularly the agriculture sector. The government of Malawi likewise implements the flagship program called Agricultural Commercialization and Resilience Enhancement Project, which aims to transform smallholder agriculture from mostly subsistence to commercial. At least 58% of the project's beneficiaries for 2024 were women. Another best practice worth mentioning is Kenya's Access to Government Procurement Opportunities program, which reserves 30% of government procurement opportunities to businesses owned by women, youth, and persons with disabilities, to provide a framework for promoting women entrepreneurship on shared prosperity. The key takeaway of the interactive dialogue is that addressing poverty, particularly poverty among women and girls, requires a holistic approach that is both multifaceted and involves multi-stakeholders, and must focus on economic empowerment, improved educational access, and reinforced social protection. On the second dialogue that I attended, which is freedom from violence, stigma, and discrimination, the topic under the second dialogue is centers on mostly violence against women. Through this session, best practices in ending violence against women were shared, as well as innovative mechanisms to address the issue, including multi-stakeholder sectoral strategy, survivor-centered approaches, data-driven evidence-based policies, and adoption of dedicated national action plans to end violence against women. At the onset of the dialogue, there was a mention of the recent issue of femicide brief released by the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime and the UN Women during the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And it revealed that a woman or girl is killed every 10 minutes by someone close to her. And only in just 7% of these cases where the victim had been subject to previous forms of violence had the perpetrator received a restraining order by authorities. This means that if proper precautions had been implemented more extensively, a lot of these femicide cases would have been prevented. The report also highlighted that more than a third of women killed by their intimate partners had reported some forms of violence by their partners previously. It was established that violence against women, or VOW, is a pervasive issue that requires the attention of every state. And among the numerous innovative strategies to combat VOW, the development of the national action plans proves to be one of the most effective. The discussions highlighted that the strongest national action plans are the ones that bring together multiple sectors such as health, justice, education, labor, and social protection. In terms of the emerging issue on internet violence, a representative from the Internet Lab also shared that in Brazil, while there are only 15 women candidates during their last election, these 15 candidates received nearly 70% of the offensive and aggressive comments on social media throughout the observation period. It has become clear that women running for public offices are unequally targeted on social media and on the internet in general. While men receive common negative comments based on their political actions or the work that they have previously done, women are often attacked based on their bodies and based on their personal lives as compared to men. Considering this, there is a need to work closely with the platforms to make sure there's proper monitoring of contents. There's also a need to go beyond criminal responses and bring the platform's accountability at the forefront of discussions when it comes to digital violence against women. Australia has also been a bold and proactive player and has taken steps towards preventing online sexual violence and internet harms for its young people, as they have implemented the ban of social media for persons under 16 years of age. Another revolutionary program from the government of Italy is the Freedom Income Program, which provides 500 euros for up to 12 months to help women escape violence and regain their independence. So it helps women who are victims of domestic abuse or abuse from their partners by giving a allowance of 500 euros. There's also the Freedom Microcredit Project that offers financial support to women victims for them to start their businesses. And the programs of the government of Italy reflect its commitment to breaking the cycle of violence by fostering financial independence and building a safer, more inclusive society. During the dialogues, I highlighted the best practices of the Philippines when it comes to poverty eradication and social protection, as well as freedom from violence and stigma and stereotypes. With respect to the first dialogue on poverty eradication, I highlighted our program on 4Ps and the Sustainable Livelihood Program, which in particular is able to provide a livelihood to women in particular through giving them capital and assistance as well, assistance, not only provision of capital to start their own businesses. Aside from that, in terms of violence against women, I highlighted, of course, the laws that we have already passed in the Philippines, and also increasing our ways or improving our ways for reporting, and the psychosocial support that we provide to women who are victims of violence. But aside from this, I didn't mention it during the dialogues, but I guess I can mention it now as one of the commitments of the department of the DSWD. One of our takeaways from the 68th UN CSW, the last year, was on recognition of unpaid care, which since then we have started to work on in terms of the development of a program, but it's still in its infancy stage. It's still in the infancy stage, meaning we're still developing and designing the program, but we're looking at providing an amount. We're still determining how much it is. We have to work with the PCW on this. As I understand, you've already made a study on this, on unpaid care, but we plan to give it to beneficiaries who are part of the poorest of the poor, the listahanan of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, who are not 4P beneficiaries. So women who are part of the poorest of the poor, who are non-4P beneficiaries, because the 4P beneficiaries already receive an amount from the government, but who do not have employment and who provide care work, or care for the household or for children. So this is a step, I guess, to be able to provide, to recognize and compensate women for providing care work. But at the same time, it can address the issue of giving them an income which grants them financial independence. Well, which gives them a way to save, to escape, for instance, a abusive relationship. But we can also adopt and study the best practice I mentioned earlier of giving allowance, freedom from violence allowance, that would be able to aid a woman who was a victim of domestic violence to escape an abusive relationship. So this is something that we can study, and this is something that I would say is a takeaway from the dialogue on freedom from violence that the department can study. So these are our two commitments. We'll continue on developing the unpaid care work, and to study the freedom from violence program that was discussed earlier.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Palakpakan naman po natin si Yusek M. So, thank you for sharing your learnings doon sa iyong mga inattend na two-side events, no, Yusek M. Two dialogues, interactive dialogues. And happy to note yung iyong mga highlight that having a national action plan to eliminate VOW is the most effective intervention. And we are happy to note that the Philippines has one, di ba? NAP-EVOW on, we have a national action plan to end violence against women. So, ayan, we're almost there. Hope we will implement our NAP-EVOW, no? Talaga, as it has been found effective, an effective intervention. And noting your commitment, Yusek M, to implement addressing issues on unpaid care and domestic work, and probably having the Italy's good practice on freedom from violence, no? Giving some of our women allowance so that they could escape the violence, no, happening in their homes.
Can I
Ayan.
just clarify? We'll study it because what I notice is that we have the government, not just for violence, but I'm talking about all others. We have so many cash grants already. We have, as you know, the AICs. We have,
SLPs.
we have the SLP is also a cash grant. We have cash grants for ayuda kapos sa kapusang kita.
Yeah,
So
AKAP ba yun?
AKAP, yeah. So we have so many cash grants. So that's why I said we'll study it on what would be the most sustainable and yet effective way to be able to address. It doesn't have to be exactly how Italy does it, but it would be able to achieve the same result.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Palakpakan natin ulit si Yusek M. And may I now, first may I call on Commissioner Faida Domarpa from CHR. Ayan. Ayan. Tamang-tama. Kayo na ba ang susunod? Tamang-tama, Comfey. It's your turn to share your insights on the sessions that you have attended and anything you want to share. Lalo na doon sa commitment on how to move forward in implementing the BPfA.
Assalamualaikum po, and of course, good afternoon to everyone. It's good to see everyone from the Philippine Delegation of the CSW69 again. And of course, all of the guests present with us today, and I'm really thankful to have this opportunity to be able to share our very productive experience at the CSW69. I'll follow the guide questions that were given to us. The sessions I've actually attended 2 sessions. One is on the participation, accountability, and gender-responsive institutions. And secondly, I was also given the honor, of course, by the PCW and the whole of the PhilDel to represent us in the session on accelerating implementation of the Beijing PFA, the role of the Commission on the Status of Women. So these 2 sessions were held on the same date, on March 18. For those, a little background siguro, just to make the conversation a little lighter. It was an interactive dialogue. So after the speakers, there were around 3, 4, 5 speakers at the podium. And then all of the member states who would want to intervene, that would include us, the Philippines, will have to do a first come, first serve basis of pushing the red button so that you'll be able to speak. Once you speak a little bit later and the time is up, then we will not be able to deliver an intervention. But of course, luckily for us, we have a very active and very diligent PhilDel delegation. Ano po kami lagi? Nasasama po kami lagi doon sa mga member states na nakakapag-intervene. Allow me to give you a little background on the 2 sessions I was privileged enough to be a part of. The first one, as I've mentioned, is the participation, accountability, and gender-responsive institutions. In this interactive dialogue, as an NHRI, we actually highlighted our role. We are the National Human Rights Institution of the State of the Republic of the Philippines. And we also highlighted our role as the Gender Ombud as indicated under our Magna Carta for Women. Yun po yung focus ng aming discussion on this particular session. And in the second session, of course, that would be accelerating implementation of the Beijing PFA, the role of the Commission on the Status of Women. For this, we actually highlighted that we've been, the Beijing Platform for Women has been 30 years. And the state, during its recent review, took a very good action by taking a whole of nation approach. So hinighlight po natin yon. So whole of nation approach would include, of course, that in developing the state report, our state involved everyone. There were working groups co-led by of course, the government. We have CSO representatives. So yun po yung isa sa mga hinighlight natin during this particular session. And of course, we again in this interactive dialogue also took note and recognized our role again as an NHRI and as a Gender Ombud, because as the state monitor, kami po ang state monitor natin sa compliances natin sa mga tratado natin, that would include of course the CEDAW convention. We are in a very unique position to highlight of course, the best practices, the developments, as well as, of course, gaps in the implementation in amplifying the voices of women on the ground and advocate for state action. Going on to the second guide question that was given to us, and allow me to share the renewed commitments that our agency will start to plan. This is actually something that I also manifested during our intervention. That, of course, as a Paris-compliant institution, the Commission on Human Rights will always ensure accountability for women's human rights. We are also the Gender and Development Ombud, and we work closely with the National Machinery for Women. The Commission also will continue in ensuring the implementation of the Magna Carta of Women, and that would include, 1, monitoring the situation of women on the ground, highlighting gaps and barriers to full enjoyment of women's rights, and investigating complaints or providing legal assistance in cases of human rights violations and discrimination. Yun po yung aming commitments that we hope to continue. And allow me to add, I think that's for question number 2. I'll go straight to question number 3, or guide question number 3 rather. How should agencies and organizations ensure that the commitments that they adhered to are fully implemented or concretized and closely monitored? I respectfully re-echo again the same manifestation we've put on record during the CSW69, that we emphasize that there is a need, of course, to strengthen NHRIs and national machineries for women and enhance collaboration with civil society organization. Secondly, we hope to prioritize the elimination of violence against women and girls, and including violence in politics and attacks on women human rights defenders. Promote sustained and committed efforts to change social norms and practices that perpetuate discrimination and violence against women. And of course, we hope to improve access to health care and reproductive health services. We also reaffirmed, and we reaffirm again, our commitment to ensuring gender-responsive institutions and accountability mechanisms that will truly uphold the rights of all women and girls. And of course, we continue to collaborate. We will continue to strengthen our working relationship, our partnership with all the concerned government agencies. And on a final note, this is something that we are hoping to surface more frequently, especially among member states in the international community. Kasi po, ang CSW69, ang participation po niyan is member states, as we know. Now, isa po ang best practice na ginagawa ng Commission on Status of Women and the NYPM, that they invite us as the NHRI, as an independent NHRI, to still be a part of the Philippine Delegation. This way, we are able to further surface and further bring awareness to our independent reports, to our independent findings. So it gives a complete picture. It adds to the puzzle that the Commission on Status of Women are trying to complete. So ito po is a thing that we hope to be able to further surface, and other states should gagayahin po nila. They adopt. That I hope they be able to adopt this, because this is something also that was raised during the session. Remember the session for the CSOs? There was one intervenor, a lady, yung sinasabi po niya yung how hard it is to access and participate in the CSW69. And maybe one step further in furthering and putting into fruition the inclusivity of CSW69 is us doing our end na sundan ang best practice po ng Philippine Delegation. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comfey, sa iyong sharing, and I would really like to thank you for highlighting the process that we have undergone in terms of the preparation of the Beijing plus 30, BPfA plus 30 report, di ba, Ms. Lenlen? This is one of the good practices na recognized ang Philippines according to the Asia Pacific Secretariat. At least, yung SCAP, they said that very good si Philippines because we conducted nga talaga a nationwide consultations, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and we even had a high visibility event to disseminate our report. And the whole of society, whole of government approach, including the Commission on Human Rights, no, lahat ini-invite natin. And of course, the involvement of our civil society organizations in putting together our report. So, thank you very much for that, and palakpakan natin ang ating sarili. You have been part of the preparation of the BPfA plus 30 report, and your commitment to still ensure the implementation of the MCW, and many have recommended to PCW na what you have been doing is really useful, no, in enhancing and ensuring that the Magna Carta of Women is implemented. Kasi you do not just highlight the positive aspects of what we have been doing, but the gaps, and even investigating the violations, no, committed doon sa MCW. And of course, noting on your sustainability proposal to really strengthen the national women's machinery, because that has also been, and it is still the PCW's, parang one of our ways forward, Chair, di ba, as you have mentioned. So thank you very much. Ayan, palakpakan ulit natin si Commissioner Faida. So, on to our next speaker. Okay, it's your turn. Asek Susan from the OPA Peru. The floor is yours. Asek.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Una sa lahat, nais kong iparating ng formal sa harap ninyo ang aming papasasalamat